Good evening, everyone, and welcome to How to Part Exchange Your Home, the fourth webinar in the lockdown series brought to you by London Square Intelligence. My name's Becky Bowden, and I'm a Regional Sales Manager at London Square. One of the advantages of buying a new build property is the ability of the developer to offer incentives such as part exchange. And this evening, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Dario Scimeca, Project Sales Manager at London Square, and Kerry Rolfe, Assistant Sales Manager at the New Homes Group, to talk you through how to part exchange your home. The New Homes Group is the largest part exchange provider in the UK and have a long-standing relationship with London Square. Kerry's been with the business for over 4 years and has a wealth of knowledge and experience in the part exchange process. We have received a number of questions from you already this evening, and these will be addressed at the end of the webinar. If you do have any questions, then feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, and we'll endeavour to answer as many of these as possible at the end of the presentation. We hope you find the presentation informative. Over to you, Dario.
Good evening, and thanks, Becky, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to take you through the agenda first. We're going to go through the benefits of part exchange. We're then going to go on to qualification. We're going to go through the valuation process, property summary report. As Becky mentioned, we've then got some frequently asked questions that we've put in, and then it's over to the Q&A section. So, what are the benefits of part exchange? Well, above all, we're your guaranteed cash buyer. You don't need to worry about selling your property to someone that needs to go through getting a mortgage. You don't need to worry about selling your property to someone that's already sold to someone else, and they might have what we call a chain. So you're reliant on other people. You're reliant wholly on us, the developer. You have no agency fees to pay because we're buying your property. Obviously, it's convenient and stress-free, but by doing this, it makes you proceedable straight away, so you can secure the plot that you're looking for. The resale of your property is managed by the New Homes Group, so again, it takes that stress away from you. Qualification. So in order for us to consider part exchange, we do require at least a 30% differential in value between the property you're selling and the property you're buying from us. So you need to be buying something that is 30% more expensive than what we're ultimately taking your property in for. We then require you to get qualified by a mortgage broker so that you're comfortable with what finance you would need, have an idea of what you need to achieve on your property as well. In order for us to consider your property for part exchange, it does need to be a residential property. Part exchange can be considered, but it is subject to certain criteria, such as provided it's not above a commercial premises or sometimes the existing lease length. So the process, well, above all, you need to find your dream home. So that means getting in touch with our sales advisors, having a look online and looking at our developments, find the property you're looking for and identify the plot you're after. Once we know that, we then fill in an application form with you. On the application form, we'll fill in obviously your information, your address information, but we'll ask you stuff about your property. So is it a house? Is it an apartment? How many bedrooms has it got? Did you buy it recently? We'll try and understand a price expectation from you. And if you do happen to be in the office with us, we might have a quick check on Rightmove with you to show you in front of you. We will ask certain questions if you have already put it on the market. Is it on the market now? If so, how much for? Have you had any interest? The good news is all of this information can be taken over the phone or via email if you're more comfortable with that. But of course, we can obviously do it in the marketing suite with you. Now I'm going to hand over to Kerry, who's going to go through the valuation process.
Thank you, Dario. So once you have completed the application with London Square and obviously provided all that information that Dario just discussed, we will then arrange 3 local estate agents to visit your property. The agents then will report back to us with their recommendations on valuations, along with comparable evidence that's collated via Rightmove through like sold house prices. We will look at amenities nearby, including schools, shops, leisure facilities, and our valuations are always based upon realistic 4 to 6 week selling period. We then compile a property summary report or a property report. As you can see on your screen now, these are examples of what the property summary report would look like. So these are certain pages. So we go into detail on the property locations. You can see on that first page, we show photographs of your property and the features of your property, and obviously contact your customer details, etc. there as well. We run through comparables. So we will always include these within the report. These back up our recommendations and the valuations that the agents provide. So we'll always use direct comparables, so ideally ones that are within your area, directly related to your property, so same bedroom size, square footage, etc. And then we do a detailed overview of your property. So we run through your property, what the accommodation is like briefly. We then go through your location, history, so when you bought the property, whether it's been on the market recently, and detail like that. We go through the market, so what the current market is doing, what other properties in your area are currently on the market for, how many of them have sold, etc. We look at positive factors relating to your property, as well as some adverse as well that obviously we'd need to raise with them. And then we always would include your current mortgage information as well. This is the last page of the report. So this is where the agent's valuations are included. So like we say, obviously we've backed up our recommendations also. London Square will always base their part exchange figure on that 4 to 6 week suggested achievable price that you can see in that table below. Once that is all completed, so once we've done our property summary report, we then send that over to London Square. London Square will discuss whether they are going to offer part exchange, and they'll discuss that with you. So typically they offer up to 97% of what the property is valued for, so that suggested achievable price that we discussed earlier. This 97% is higher than most other property developers. London Square discuss the report with you, and ideally in the sales office, they'd run through the report, all the comparable evidence, etc. And then from there, if you're happy, the reservation will be completed, reservation fee paid, and solicitors instructed so that the process can begin.
Excellent, thank you, Kerry. So we've got some frequently asked questions that I'm just going to run through now. Can I try selling my property on the open market before agreeing to take the part exchange offer?
Ideally, we make the recommendation that if you can accept the part exchange offer, then you should, mainly because this, like we said before, reserves your plot straight away. There are instances where we can offer part exchange fallback, but then again, that will be discussed with London Square if that is an option. That can sometimes mean that you can get a little bit more than your part exchange offer if there is that extra time available.
Okay. Do I need to move out of my home the same day as when I complete on my new property? Or is there any flexibility to allow me some time to move?
Yes, you would need to move home on the day of completion. There can be some things that can be discussed with London Square, but that does depend majority on whether London Square have already obtained a new buyer for your property. But like we say, if it is an issue, just speak with London Square and I'm sure they'll be happy to.
Am I expected to sell my home with all the curtains and light fittings?
We always recommend that window coverings are left behind, just because obviously when the property does become vacant, we don't want it to be obvious that there is nobody living there. When it comes to light fittings and any other fitted items, we do request that they are left, mainly because they can cause more harm from being removed.
And how soon will I get an offer once I complete an application for part exchange?
That ultimately just depends on your availability for the agent's valuation and the agents to attend. Ideally, we like to have a part exchange offer to you within a week.
Excellent. I'm going to go over to Becky, who's going to go through some of the questions. Oh, obviously, just to make you aware, we do currently offer part exchange across 3 of our developments: Staines upon Thames, Tadworth Gardens, and Chigwell Village. Again, we will mention this towards the end of the presentation, but they're all accessible from the London Square website.
That's great. Thanks, Dario and Kerry. I think you've provided a really good overview there to the part exchange scheme, and hopefully everyone's a lot more familiar with it than they were at the start of this webinar. We've had some questions come through, so if I just pose these to you. So Kerry, perhaps this is one you can answer. Sarah's asked, can I part exchange 2 properties to buy 1 house with London Square?
No, this would cost London Square a lot, so only the 1 property, and it would have to be your residential property. Excellent.
Another question here, can I use part exchange to buy with Help to Buy scheme also?
Is that me? Yeah.
That one's for Dario, sorry.
Is its own scheme outright. As Kerry said, there is obviously a cost associated with it. If Help to Buy was a requirement, we could look at doing something Kerry touched on earlier, such as possibly a part exchange fallback or an assisted move. An assisted move, in effect, goes through the same processes as part exchange. We can file a report just as we do with a part exchange. The only difference is it will suggest what we would look to market your property on with 2 agents. So we would in effect take over marketing your property. Again, we cover your agency fees. We'd manage the process, but we would agree a sale on your property.
Thanks for that, Dario. I've got another one here for you as well. Is part exchange offered on all properties at London Square or just select plots?
So it is offered on select plots. What I would suggest is identify the development you want to live at, speak to your sales executives, and they'll be able to give you guidance on which properties are eligible for part exchange.
Excellent, thank you. And do London Square offer any other incentives if part exchanged is used? That's for you, Dario.
Again, it would be dependent on the property you identify and potentially the value of the property we're buying from you. So what I would say again is identify a plot, go through the process, and if we can make something work for you, then of course we will.
Excellent. Another question here. Do I have to let people view my house before I move into the new property I'm buying? That's one for you, Kerry, please.
Ideally, yes. So the plan is obviously if the part exchange is agreed, your property would then be placed on the market, obviously, as we've discussed. Viewings, we do request go ahead, but we do ask that the agents accompany those viewings and only ever do them when it is suitable for you. Obviously, if there is any issues, just let us know and we're happy to make arrangements with the agents to suit you.
That's great. Thanks, Kerry. Dario, this one's for you. How long do I have to accept or reject the part exchange offer from London Square?
So our part exchange offer obviously is based off the information in the property summary report. So if you didn't accept the offer straight away, the plot you've identified wouldn't actually be secured and reserved. So there's always the option that if someone else came in and wanted to reserve that property, they could. The information within sort of the property report, we say is valid for up to about 3 weeks. So if you did go past that sort of timeline, we may have to ask the New Homes Group to update their report, which may affect the part exchange offer we would then make.
Thanks for that. Kerry, Diana's asking, am I responsible for doing a professional clean before I give the keys of my old home over?
We ask that the property is left clean and tidy, so as you would like it to be found if you were purchasing the property. It doesn't necessarily have to be a professional clean, but it should be, like we say, clean and tidy, and we do arrange for the property to be visited following your completion to ensure that it obviously has been left suitably.
Another one for you, Kerry, here. Roger wants to know that if the home he chooses is ready to move into and uses the part exchange scheme, how long would the process take?
So London Square, depending on how quickly your part exchange can work, they will be keen to move towards a 28-day exchange. So you could be moved in within the month.
Pretty quick then.
Nice and quick.
Dario, this one's for you. Lisa has asked if we're interested to get a valuation for our home, how do we begin? Should we contact Kerry or London Square first?
So in the first instance, you'd come to London Square. Obviously, if you're interested in part exchange and you know what development you're looking at, then I would say contact that sales office. The sales advisors are fully up to speed with how part exchange works. They'll be happy to help you.
Thanks. And Simon says, if we accept an offer for part exchange, but London Square are not able to agree a sale on our property before we move, does this affect our purchase?
No, that's one of the benefits of part exchange. So regardless of whether we've agreed a sale on your property or not, we're your cash buyer, and that's all that matters for you.
Excellent. And another one for you here, Dario, I think. Amy said, would the offer from London Square be for the full amount of the valuation?
So our offer is obviously based on the sort of average valuations on that 4 to 6 week achievable price. So we offer up to 97% of that figure. Again, it would all be discussed when we present to you the property summary report.
That's great. Kerry, Jane would like to know if they choose they get to choose a particular estate agent to do the valuations, or do they have to be chosen by the New Homes Group or London Square?
So we do have agents that we prefer to use. We obviously have agents that we have good relationships with, but we will always take your recommendations into consideration as well. But ideally, we like to have agents that haven't previously valued, and like we say, that we know are reputable in the area.
Excellent. Dario, could you let John know at what point he could change his mind in the process?
Yeah, so as with any normal reservation, you're able to change your mind right up until the point of exchange of contracts. So as long as you haven't exchanged contracts, you're completely within your right to cancel the sale and stop the process.
That's great, thanks. Kerry, one for you. Are there any exceptions if our property doesn't meet the required differential value to the property we want to buy, or is this written in stone? And that's a question there from Rebecca.
Unfortunately not. So as we mentioned before, part exchange does cost the developer a lot of money, and changing that differential isn't an option, unfortunately.
That's great. Thanks for clarifying that one. Dario, does the property I'm buying have to be built, or can I part exchange an off-plan property? And that one there is from Phil.
So it doesn't need to be build complete, but it does need to be at a certain build stage. So within London Square, our policy is, provided the property is going to be build complete within the next 3 months, part exchange may be considered.
Fabulous. I think, let me just check for some more. I think this is quite a similar question. Can I change my mind if I decide not to go down the PX route? that was sort of covered by the fact that you can pull out up to the point of exchange, which Dario answered. Anonymous says, does the new home I want to buy with part exchange incentive have to be complete? Oh, we've answered that one as well. I think that's sort of all the questions that we've received so far answered there. So there's some really good questions there. So hopefully everyone has an even greater understanding now. If you didn't get a chance to answer a question, then please do feel free to get in touch with London Square after the webinar at intelligence@londonsquare.co.uk. Again, if you missed any parts of tonight's webinar or wish to have a recap, a copy will be uploaded to the London Square website. You'll also be able to view all of our previous webinars there as well, should they be of interest to you. As Dario did touch on earlier, our current sites that are offering part exchange are Staines upon Thames, Chigwell Village, where there's just one property left there that is available on part exchange, and Tadworth Gardens near Epsom there as well. Full details available on the London Square website. Our next webinar will be on interior design with Dapper Interiors, and that's at the end of the month. So do keep an eye out for information on that should you be interested in joining in on that one. But thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you to Dario and Kerry for their input, and stay safe and take care, everyone. Thanks.